to make life better for people in need, for the community, for the environment, and she did inspire us to do the same. But I had the privilege of growing up with her on a small 80-acre farm outside of Omaha, Nebraska. And believe me, it was an experience. And as you can imagine, having known her as an adult, she was a very strong child, and some might even call her headstrong, but she had a joy of life about her, and she led me into all kinds of experiences, which I can't possibly tell you all of them, but it was a pleasure. And so she loved the farm, and she loved the animals on the farm, and she was a loving spirit in our family. So in our family, Judy and I had an older sister called Jeannie. That sounds kind of cold. Her name was Jeannie. And we idolized her. And then a little bit later, two of our brothers came along that we were not expecting. And of course, as the older sisters, we coddled them and probably spoiled them, but I think it didn't ruin them. So it just happened that Judy and I were the closest in age of our family, so obviously we would spend most of our time together in various ways. It was just such a treasure that the week before Judy left us, we were able to sit down and talk a little bit about the experiences we had on a farm, because believe me, they were unique, because this really was a small farm. We were quite poor and all that, but we just had so much fun. So as children, our mother would used to go into Omaha to stock up on groceries and run errands and sometimes go to different appointments. So we would be left at home, the three sisters, and it would be expected that we would clean up the house while our mother was gone. You know, maybe wash the dishes, make the bed, sweep up a little bit. So it was expected of us. One day, my mother was going into Omaha, but she took Jeannie with her because they had some appointments. So here Judy and I were by ourselves looking at the stack of dishes and things. And Judy, as you can probably imagine even now, had this spark about her and the twinkle in her eye and the little mischievous grin, and said, "Jackie, come on, I'm going to take you outside." So we had this huge catalpa tree outside, which was over 60 years old, I'm sure, and had these very sturdy, welcoming branches. And Judy said, "You know, we've never climbed this tree." So she had put a rickety ladder against the trunk of the tree. And she said, "It's time that we create our treehouse." So we climbed up the rickety ladder and we found a perfect branch for both of us, very sturdy and welcoming. And we had a whole new perspective on the farm because we looked out over the rolling hills of the Nebraska farmland and we were just enchanted. So, you know, it wasn't time to get down yet. So Judy said, "Well, come on, let's have a little lunch and come back up to our treehouse and have lunch." So we did that. And then we weren't quite ready to leave this beautiful place yet. So we climbed down. Once again, don't ask me how we didn't fall, but we didn't. And we got books, because books were big in our family. Took them back up and started reading. And time passed, and suddenly, of course you know what happened. Our mother drove into the driveway, and Judy and I looked at each other. We did not swear in those days. Oh, zoot. We should have. We haven't done anything. So we raced down the tree. We didn't hurt ourselves again. And went into the back door, through the backyard, and thought, well, maybe we can start doing the dishes and she'll think we have at least done something. But of course, our mother had entered before we did and had this very disappointed look on her face. So Judy, think about Judy and the Judy you know and the Judy she was then, beaming, went to my mom and said, "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry we didn't get our chores done, but Jackie and I had the best time possible up in our new treehouse in the catalpa tree." So my mom saying, "What?" And then Judy, of course, added, "But we'll do our chores now." So she smoothed out everything and we were good. So another thing that Judy and I were able to talk about before she left us was our insane, and it really was insane, love of horses. On the farm, we had these huge workhorses who were strong enough to pull a plow, plow the field, pull wagons full of corn and hay. And we loved those horses more than we loved anything. So we would go down, we'd take a curry comb, which I'm not sure how many of you know about a curry comb, and we would groom the horses after their hard day in the fields. And one day when they hadn't been in the fields, Judy, with that same look on her face that you probably all know, grinning with mischief just coming out of her, she said, "It's time we ride these horses." Ride these horses, these huge horses. And I had visions of, bucking broncos and people falling off and breaking legs and all that kind of stuff. But you know me, I followed her everywhere. And why wouldn't I? Because she was that charismatic even as a child. So we put the bridles on, the reins, and Judy found we had a water tank. The sides of it were just high enough that Judy could climb up on it and put her, get on her horse. Her horse was Pat, and of course, Pat was a better horse than the one I got. But so she got on the horse, and we were we kind of held our breath because we had no idea. And his name was Pat. He just stood there, docile. And we thought, oh, this might work after all. But then I had the horse named Sam, and Sam was even bigger and a little bit mean-spirited. So of course that's who I got. But Judy got off of Pat, helped me up on Sam, and he did the same thing, like nothing. Like, what's wrong with these horses? They don't know we're on their back. So that began hours and hours and hours of fantastic times riding these big old workhorses. We always wanted horses with smaller hooves, but they didn't, but they were great. So we'd ride all over the farm. We played hide and seek in the grove that we had on the farm. And then there were hills in the road that was by our farm, and the horses started being very competitive. And so they would try to beat each other, racing up the hill. We fell off, I fell off. I don't know if Judy ever did, a couple times, a couple chipped teeth. But, we simply loved those horses. And so one day after we'd finished riding, went into the kitchen. Judy went to the cupboard and she got out some graham crackers. And then she got out a rolling pin, and then she got out a cutting board to put on the countertop. And she started rolling the graham cracker crumbs until they were very fine. And then she looked at me and she said, "Okay, it's time for the horses to feed." And guess who the horses were? Us. So we put our heads down and ate our feed. And in the meantime, we'd stomp our legs to get the imaginary flies off. We didn't have a tail, so there wasn't much we could do about that. But Judy and I laughed. That was we just thought, and we said to each other, "What do you think our mom thought?" Coming in and seeing her horse children, feeding. But those memories were absolutely precious. And I can't think of anyone who would have been better to have had these experiences with. But they weren't all good. So it just so happened that our older sister Jeannie, started smoking cigarettes. And of course, our parents, both of them, were very, very opposed to smoking, and especially women who smoked because they looked cheap and trashy. So of course, what happened? But all three daughters started smoking. That's as would happen. One day, Mom always took a nap after lunch. So we looked at each other one day and said, "Let's go have a smoke." So we went behind the barn and behind the big cob pile and started and lit our cigarettes. And suddenly we just froze, all three of us, because who do you suppose came around the corner of the barn? our mother, because she had gotten up, the phone had rung during her nap, and we weren't there to answer it. So this, I don't know if you've ever had these heart-stopping moments, but that was one of them for us. We just were in complete shock. And Judy and I talked about it just before she left us, but we were still traumatized by that, and we can't even remember, what the consequences of this were. But they couldn't have been good. However, you'll be happy to know that all three of us continue to smoke for another 20 to 30 years. So a lot of good that did. But the day Judy left us was very difficult, obviously. But the lines of some beautiful lines of poetry just popped into my mind. And this was a poem by John McGee, who was a pilot. But the first words of his poem resonated with me, and I thought, this is probably what Judy is saying. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings. And I thought, that's perfect what Judy was probably saying. So this is difficult, but just want to tell Judy how much we love her and miss her, and how grateful I am to have shared a childhood with her, and that she is my forever friend.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, everybody. Hey, it's great to see a nice crowd here today and come to honor my mom. I'm Judy's son, Tom. A little nervous, but we'll get through it. So the story takes off here with sort of a history of our family growing up. Like Jackie said, we're pretty much Midwest folk who all moved out to Arizona. And we lived in Tempe and Tucson pretty much. And all the three sisters eventually came out here in the period of time I'm talking about. So my time starts about 1964. And that would be the first time we came to Arizona. And our parents went to Flagstaff, where my mom finished her undergraduate degree at NAU. And they ran a roadside motel on Route 66. And I guess 1964, I was 2 or 3 years old or something like that. So I remember some stories about being leashed up to the gas pump or something. So that's true maybe, right? Yeah. But don't remember much more. But after that, I remember like it was yesterday. And after Flagstaff, when she finished up, we were only there maybe a year or two. We moved back to the South, where we were all born. All three of us children, Julie, Jody, and Tom, were born in Baton Rouge, and we moved to Atlanta, where they finished their education. I think my dad might have got his doctorate or something. And we lived 1 year in Snellville, a suburb of Atlanta. And then we moved to New Orleans, which was just a fabulous memory for, I think, me and for all of us, because we lived down in the heart, kind of in a cross between like a black neighborhood, a rich neighborhood, and a college neighborhood. And we were free-range kids, and we got to run around, and we went to the zoo and Mardi Gras, went to all those floats and everything. And it was a wonderful 2 years. And after that, our family decided to build a cabin in Iowa, where my father's from. And that became our summer home. And we always went there. And of course, my parents were teachers, and they would have the whole summer off. Back in those days, summer was Labor Day, Memorial Day to Labor Day. You know, it was a full 3 months. And so we'd always pack up no matter where we lived. And so after New Orleans, I must say that year, 68 and 69 were the years Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King were assassinated. I can remember memories of that. And I think that's where my mom got her first interest in, civil work. She worked for the Great Boycott, Cesar Chavez and the migrant workers. And yeah, she was quite active in that, so is our family. So they did that. Then we moved to Winkleman, Arizona, which Connie mentioned in her song. And that's a mining town. I think some of you know it, you've heard of it. We lived on the Flats, which is right on the Gila River there. My mom taught home economics in high school and was the high school tennis coach. Yeah, and if you go to Winkleman today, that area is no longer because the flats were susceptible to flooding from the Gila River and eventually wiped out the houses where we lived in. But again, we were kind of free range, and as a boy, young boy, ran around the desert, ran around the mines, ran around the river, just had a fabulous time. And so then after that, we decided to build our summer house in Okoboji. Now, Okoboji is called the Iowa Great Lakes. It's a series of lakes in northwest Iowa, and it's not too far. It's 5 hours from the farm, I think. If you take, it's northwest Iowa, and Omaha is about 4 hours, I think, actually. So, it was all the part of where we grew up. And the Iowa Great Lakes are some of the wealthiest property in Iowa, and it's a fabulous resort area. I mean, they make a big brochure every year. It has an amusement park. It has a theater. It has fishing and hunting and all kinds of. Now it has like bike paths and lots of art museums and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, West Okoboji is a big rich lake, and we lived on the little mud flake, East Lake here, and we built this cabin right here. It's an A-frame in a gully, on the lake, and we eventually built a block building there, and we had 2 houses there, and we would always go there summers. And one year we went there and lived the full year there, and this house has no plumbing, had an outhouse. You had to row across the lake to get the water, and they used to call her Judy Rowboat. Yeah, and we would row across and get water, and we biked a lot. Sometimes I'm not even sure we had a car, but we really enjoyed it. And we lived there for 1 year, and unfortunately that was sort of the summer of my mom's discontent because it was just, a lot of moving around and stuff. So after Okoboji, we went to Bemidji, Minnesota, and we lived there a year, and my mom was a resident dorm director. She ran a dorm, and we lived in the dorm. We had an apartment. My sisters had a room across the hall, and I had a paper route. We had a little sandwich business, I think, and we just had a wonderful year there. When all the students would go away, we'd have the whole place to ourselves and have a nice Christmas in the big rec hall or whatever, and we ran around, we had a great time. And then after that, that was about 10 years of life. In 1974 starts a new chapter of Judy's life, which is we moved to Tempe, Arizona. And Judy would live there for the next 20 years. And I think a lot of you probably know Tempe, a suburb of Phoenix. And the university's there. My mom got her master's in nutrition there. And she began working for the state of Arizona. She was a daycare inspector advisor, where she would, go to daycares and advise them on nutrition and stuff. And she wrote this book, Arizona 5 a Day, which was a manual they used for like 10 years that, has guidelines about snacks and stuff for kids. And she also began teaching at Mesa Community College. In the evening, she taught nutrition, and for a lot of nurses, I think she taught for. Nurses are required to take that class and stuff. And did you take that class, Julie? Yeah, she took it. Okay, good. Yeah. How'd that work out for you? Pretty good. This is a lady that knows her food. Yeah. That's great. So this is in the 70s. Her professional career. Shortly after my graduating in 79, my parents divorced, and my mom entered a new phase of her life, which was buying houses where she lived fixing them up and putting a casita in the back. She did one on Ash Avenue, one on Roosevelt Street, and one in Tucson. And I can still, to this day, they're all within biking distance of where I live in Tempe. And I lived with her in some of those houses on my 12-year journey of getting a college degree in engineering. And I think I beat my Aunt Jackie by 1 year, right? To give you 11, right? So, and during this time, Judy met her second husband, Jim Bailey, a naturalized English businessman whom she adored. They traveled extensively and bought an ocean-faring sailboat, which they tended to sail around the world. They did some ocean sailing trips, but Jim fell ill and died before they could realize that dream. And around this time, Mom's daughter, Julie, had her daughter, Sarah, her only biological grandchildren. Mom has 2 other step-grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren to her daughter, Jody, and Steve. And at that time, Judy retired from state service teaching and moved to Tucson to be with Judy. And that's where she bought a historic house on 1st Street and 4th Avenue across from the Waldorf School where Sarah attended, her daughter, with Linda Ronstadt's children. She eventually sold that house, bought a townhouse near the downtown. She sold that and moved into Redondo Towers, where she began her full life of full-time volunteering. And that's where the story goes to now. Yeah. Thank you all for coming.
Testing, here we go. I'm Judy's daughter, Julie's friend. And consequently, my husband and I moved here in September 2022, so we shared many dinners with Julie and Judy. So it's very sad, but it's a celebration of a life. And I got to know her, and towards the end of her life, Julie was interested in me trying to put some lyrics together. I'm a singer-songwriter, and so I just said to her, I can write any song, I just need some phrases. So Julie co-wrote this song, but you'll recognize it's a 70s tune. But this is Judy, 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 we all love you. Backup track by Tom, thank you for. She grew up on a farm in Nebraska, learned to milk a cow and ice skate too. She had twin girls at 20, and with her son, summered in Okoboji, she taught home ec and tennis with guts and glee, and hiked Mount Lemmon as a family. Judy, 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 we all love you. Judy, 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 we all care. Judy, Judy, we're all thinking of you. Judy, Judy, we'll always be there. Some girls are content to just be mothers, but her heart grew to love the whole world. She championed Chavez and union workers, protested troops in Vietnam. She's pro-choice, pro-woman to the core. Judy, 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 we all love you. Feel free to join in. Judy, 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 we all care. And Judy, Judy, we're all thinking of you. Judy, Judy, we'll always be there. She worked the sails on her husband Jim's ship. They sailed to Hawaii through a storm. She settled in Tucson, supported many just causes. The world's a better place since the day she was born. Now that she's gone, so many will mourn. Judy, 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 we all love you. Judy, 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 we all care. Judy, Judy, we're still thinking of you. Judy, Judy, we'll always be there for you and yours. You guys.
What talented music Judy brought around her, kept around her. I invite you as we move forward in our service to join me in a spirit of prayer, contemplation, meditation, whatever helps you center down. When I remembered that this poem existed, I knew it had to be said at Judy's celebration of life. This is To Be of Use by Marge Piercy. The people I love best jump into work head first without dallying in the shallows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. We're going to hear from Judy's daughters now, and then hear quickly from some of the organizations that were close to Judy's heart.
No, don't say it's her again. Just imagine I'm a handsome 6'2" male with a nice graying beard, and that's my brother Ted, who sent these words for me to read to you. My dearly beloved big sister Judy, you are an inspiration to me and my family as we continue the legacy of the Grau Farm in Nebraska. I will miss your frequent phone calls and greeting cards that have encouraged me in my life, and I love you dearly for that. Your life of generosity and hard work was an inspiration to us all. You took interest in all the activities of my family on the farm and helped us all remember the fond and not so fond memories from growing up together on our Nebraska farm. You are loved and missed, but will never be forgotten by so many that you have touched during your fulfilling life. My enduring love, your brother Ted.
Hi, I'm Jody Millen. I'm Judy's middle daughter. I'm 3 minutes younger than my sister. Yes, Julie Jones, firstborn.
So I'm going to read this because otherwise it's too emotional. Our mom, Judy, was passionate about volunteering in her beloved Tucson community. She called it her second career, and it brought her joy and satisfaction every day. She had a steadfast and enduring support of local causes, both the arts and historic venues and essential care facilities. Some of the historic organizations she supported were the Old Pueblo Trolley, the Southern Arizona Train Museum, the Fox Theater, Tucson Museum of Art, Tucson Pops Orchestra, Sierra Club, and the National Parks. She loved that Tucson was a UNESCO City of Gastronomy, and she mentioned that often. She was quite a foodie, as you all know. On the flip side, she enthusiastically supported and volunteered her time and money to essential organizations as the UU Church here, Sister Jose's, Habitat for Humanity, the Gospel Rescue Mission, the Community Food Bank, the American Red Cross, Salvation Army, and Compassionate Choices. Thanks, Jody. So it's so wonderful to see you all here. You know, I came to Tucson in 1978, and my mom did join me here in Tucson in 1996, I think, or maybe 1998. And she did love Tucson. I mean, it was her town. So we have 3 organizations where we have speakers that have come here to share their experience with Judy, about Judy. We have Habitat, and they'll start first, and that's Charlie Buchanan. And then Jean Kaywood is here from Old Pueblo Trolley and Southern Arizona Transportation Museum, and Nicola Hartman from Sister Jose's. And so we're very excited about that. A couple of things that to mention is that Mom, probably the first thing she did with Habitat was the Women's Build in 1998. The moment she saw the, oh well, I'll go off to something else. Lost my train of thought here. Thanks. So I was looking at Habitat for Humanity, and their mission statement said the respect for the dignity of each person. And her favorite principle at the UU Church here was the inherent worth, it's principle number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And she was all about that. Yeah. So myself, my daughter, and my friend Ruth have made some peace bracelets, and we're just asking everybody to please, you know, Mom would have been so passionate about peace in the world and trying to bring peace to the world. So please go in peace and namaste. Oh, wait a minute here. Just a second here. I gotta put my, I gotta go to work today, or what? I gotta go to work today. I gotta go volunteer.
Are you taking over the mantle?
Well, I've got my hammer. All right. I may be. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to be here. It's a true honor to be able to share a few words on behalf of Habitat, and our privilege to have Judy share some of her time with us. I've learned a lot today, and I learned there was a lot I didn't know about Judy's life. She certainly was one of our most treasured volunteers at Habitat. For those that might not be familiar, Habitat has a vision of a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And we accomplish that by bringing people together to build homes, community, and hope. And homes and hope are really a byproduct of us being able to bring people together. And Judy well understood that there is no us and them, that there's only us. And she inspired many along the way in that belief to help create a movement that's critical for us to be able to deliver homes and hope. Judy volunteered with Habitat for over 20 years. I don't think there was any area of the organization that she didn't touch. As you mentioned, Women Build is currently a movement that's a vital force in our community to this day, engaging thousands over the nearly 25 years of history of that. She served as a member of our board of directors for the full allowable term, and once she termed off on the board, she volunteered at the Habit Store, she volunteered in our administrative offices, and she volunteered on the build site. Really, again, left her fingerprints all throughout Habitat Tucson. But when you ask Judy, I think her most meaningful experience was being a family partner. And that's our most intimate role, is where we have a volunteer partner with a young family and shepherd them through the home buying process and the financial education and literacy and budgeting and how to be a good neighbor and what does a mortgage contract involve. And it's the most time consuming, but certainly the most rewarding. And Judy maintained those relationships and friendships far beyond when she turned those keys over to them. I want to share a quote that Judy shared with many of us on several occasions, but this was for a volunteer recognition that she was a part of through the Southern Arizona Voluntary Managers Association. But I think it really encapsulates her perspective on the world. She was quoted as saying, "I have a decent and affordable house. So sure, I could redo my whole kitchen or go on a big trip. Or why don't I give it to Habitat so they can build a kitchen and a house for a family?" Judy's a true Habitat hero. I think it's really appropriate that she has a halo over the sketch on her head here to my right. She touched the hearts of so many with her compassion and generosity. It's an honor to call her friend. And if I could be more like Judy, I consider myself a lucky man. We'll continue to carry forward her legacy at Habitat, her compassion and generosity, and it's been a privilege to share time with her. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank the family for inviting me to say a few words. I'm with Gene Kaywood with Old Pueblo Trolley and the Southern Arizona Transportation Museum. And Tom, when he called me, asked if I would share a few words about the organization in case you're not too aware of us. But we were formed in 1983 with the idea of bringing back a historic streetcars that used to run between downtown and the University of Arizona. It took us 10 years, but we were successful in doing that. And from 1994 until 2011, we operated streetcars, all volunteer. We're an all-volunteer organization. We never had anybody, any paid executive directors, people, that kind of thing. And so everything is volunteer. And we operated the streetcars on 4th Avenue and University Boulevard until such time as the city decided to do their modern streetcar. And then we now have a transit museum where all of our trolleys that we used to run and our historic buses are displayed down in South 4th Avenue at 36th Street. So Judy was a part of this organization for a long time, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I do need to mention our Southern Arizona Transportation Museum in the year. So when we were formed, we were organized to bring back the trolley, but our plan from the beginning was to make it a broader transportation museum. And so around the year 2000, we began to plan to open a railroad-related museum down at the railroad station downtown, which the city of Tucson had purchased, and we're going to restore. And that happened in 2005, and from the time that opened in 2005 until her death, Judy was a regular volunteer down at the Transportation Museum every Sunday She was a docent that entertained people and explained to them what's happening and took their money in the gift shop and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to mention that, and then I wanted to mention that some of our leadership, I'm not going to introduce everybody that's here from the organization, there are a few people, but I did want to recognize Ken Carrolls, who runs the museum at the depot and who Judy worked closely with. And Ken is our vice president for the Southern Arizona Transportation Museum, as we came to call it. I also want to recognize Bob Schlanger, who's our president. I'm the CEO of Old Pueblo Trolley. And Old Pueblo Trolley is the parent organization for both of these. We started with the trolleys, then we branched out into saving historic buses. And then, like you said, in 2000, we worked to establish the Southern Arizona Transportation Museum at the depot. So all of these three different efforts that we have are under one 501c3, which is Old Pueblo Trolley. So anyway, that's enough on that, I think. So let's get to Judy, which is what we're here for. So sometime around 2001 or 2002, as was mentioned, she owned a house on 4th Avenue, and she was very active with the 4th Avenue Merchants Association. And since we had begun to operate the historic trolleys down there in 1994, she became entranced with our organization. Part of our idea was it was for the history of the trolleys, but it was also to help out and try to improve 4th Avenue and improve the whole transportation scene in the city of Tucson. And so she really appreciated that. And we, I think about that time, I don't remember exactly when she moved to downtown, but we needed a representative on our board of directors to represent downtown. Because at the time we were trying to get the track expanded into downtown and not just 4th Avenue to University area. And so we asked her to be on our board of directors, and she served on it ever since. Unlike Habitat, we don't have term limits, so once you're on our board, you're stuck. So Judy was stuck, and she was on our board of directors, and she just helped us with anything. She was always so willing to do whatever we asked her to do. And a couple of specific things. At our annual meetings, she would always bring the food and set it all up. And I'd say, can I pay you a little bit for the food you brought? No, I took care of it, no problem. And the other thing she did I think at this point, 80 different street fairs. A street fair on 4th Avenue is held twice a year. For 80 different street fairs, for the Old Pueblo Trolley and Southern Arizona Transportation Museum has had a presence or a booth at the event. And Judy was the one who staffed that. She was the one who called all the people and twisted their arms to get them to volunteer. And it's a lot of volunteers because it's a 3-day event, and we had 3 shifts a day for 3 days, and we wanted at least 2 people on a shift. That's a lot of people if you do the math. I think it's about 18, but I'm not good at math. At any rate, so that was what she did. And then, like I said, when we opened the museum at the depot in 2005, she became a regular volunteer and also a member of our management committee. The way we're set up is each of our different efforts has a management committee that reports to our board of directors. And so Judy was one of the early members of our management committee there, and always reported to us about events downtown and things she felt we ought to get involved in. And I know that the people appreciated her, all the volunteers did. She was always there every Sunday volunteering at the museum, as I mentioned. I do want to mention one other thing, because the gentleman in the front row with me is Mark Hart. He's 90 years young, and he still works every day at our museum. He makes all the little models. If you come down to see our museum, you'll see all the little models of buses and trolleys and trains. And Mark makes those, and he still works every day at it. But Judy took a liking to Mark, and she became his friend. And she would invite him about once a week to go out to dinner with him until he got to where his walking is kind of bad and he didn't want to fall on the sidewalk anymore. So then she'd bring pizza and beer down to and they'd sit and have pizza and beer. So I had to mention that because she took a special interest in Mark, and that's the kind of person she was. She cared about people, and she cared about Mark. He was single. He was there all the time, doing such a great job. And the other thing I want to say is, whenever she would come into our museum down in South Tucson, she would tell everybody what a great job they're doing. It didn't matter what we were working on. It didn't matter what a mess we were in the middle of. She would say, "Oh, you guys are doing such great work. Thank you very much for your work." Anyway, I've talked long enough. I want to conclude with a message. One of our volunteers at the museum at the depot, Gail Meyer, couldn't be here and actually wrote out a little note, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read part of it. Judy's love for her family is great. She goes all out for family, church, museum, and convention center ushering. She loves the work she volunteers for. Her greetings are unique, like 2 examples. "We have been waiting for you." And another one, "We were expecting you. Thank you for coming." I'm not that creative. I would never think to say those things to people, but that's the way she was. She always had to have cookies for our museum or goodies left there for all the volunteers to eat. She enjoyed all of the things that I made, so I'm not even aware of exactly what Gail makes, but whatever it was, she says she enjoyed all the things I made and kept a collection of them and told me about each one of them. So that's Judy, and again, we miss her, and I thank you for the opportunity to share a little.
Maybe everybody can hear me.
Just turn around.
But I'm gonna, testing, okay. I'll kind of cut this short, but Judy sort of met me because I hang around with big wheels, because I used to drive a bus here in Tucson, Arizona for 20 years. And she knew that, and she wanted to know all the history of all the changes that took place here in Tucson. So that's how we got together on that, and we went together to have Mexican dinners on that at least once a week when I was able to drive real good and all that in her car, which incidentally, I couldn't really drive her car because I had to crawl in from the ground into the car and the same way getting out of the car. But anyway, Judy was a very fine person. She catered to everything that I told her about Tucson, and she really appreciated that. And the only thing I can say right now is no more she walks this earth, for her face is like a beautiful flower, and she left a lot of love in this building. I thank you for letting me tell you this.
Hi, wow. It's so wonderful to hear so many things about Judy I didn't know. My name is Nicola Hartman. I'm the CEO for Sister Jose Women's Center. And I've been at the center about 2.5 years and have known Judy during that time. And I was mentioning to her son that I think of Judy, I think of a fierce woman. And with that kindness, but she would come in to the center, and I guess I should tell you first about our center. We are a low barrier women's center for women who are unhoused. We welcome women and their pets, and we're open 6 days a week, but we have women there all the time. And so by being low barrier, it means we don't ask a woman where she comes from and why she's there. We just say, welcome, what can we do for you today? Can we get you breakfast? Can we get you a shower? And it's really important. I like to think that we are a center of love, and where everybody is the same and nobody is judged for what they look like, what they smell like, but we can hopefully have them leave after a few hours, feeling a little bit better, feeling loved. So our center will be celebrating 15 years this next year. And unfortunately, it just means that the problem of unhoused women is here and is growing. And Judy was angry about that. She would walk in with articles from the paper and let me know where I needed to be to protest, to advocate for everybody. And she'd bring me stuff about other things, but she, would come in and we would be indignant together. But Judy went beyond just being indignant. She took action. And I feel really fortunate to have had the opportunity to be there. She always had this great smile and great sense of humor. In the recent, probably the past year, she was on a little bit of a rampage for women to have the feminine products that they needed. And she would notice that we had more than we needed. The community had been generous in donating feminine products to us. So she would say, well, if we have this much, then somebody else doesn't have, can we give it to them? Absolutely, Judy. So she became our distribution center. She would talk to the people in the donations area to make sure we had what we needed, and then she would deliver it to make sure young women had those products. And it was this great thing, and she would, she followed up, she kept on doing that. Judy spent most of her time volunteering with us in our back area where the women are resting. And she would, fill soap containers. She would do whatever you needed, but she would get to know the women and see what they needed and make them feel as special as they truly are. That center. Today, I wore my kind of black and white check dress because Judy loved the crossword puzzle. And she would, if she finished what she was doing and helping on a particular project, she would sit and she would do the crossword. And we would talk about it. And she's like, well, I haven't gotten my work done because I didn't finish the crossword today. And she was a great presence coming into the center so often with her kindness and her warmth and her fierceness. And that's probably what I'm gonna miss the most, is this woman who came in with this fierce love. And I think, wow, I gotta work on myself. I gotta get some Judy. And I think that is what I'm gonna look for myself, is how can I be more Judy? And that is, I guess, what we can all be inspired by. So I'm fortunate to be here. I hope you come and see us and see where Judy spent some of her time. A lot of volunteers came here, other volunteers to share their love of Judy, because she was a big presence at our center, and we're gonna really miss her. And it's an honor to get to speak about her and the center. So thank you very much.
Wow, what a life and how many stories. I love all the connections and interconnections here. If you didn't get a bracelet when you came in, that's what this chunky bracelet is. These are made, they have peace, the word peace on them, because Judy would want us to promote that. And there was also an invitation, her daughters were telling me a story that whenever Judy would get flowers, she would hand them out one by one to all of her neighbors so that the joy could spread. So in Judy's honor, if you're so moved, you could take a flower too with you in her memory. I just have some closing words from Kenneth Collier, and then we're going to hear our last song. Reverend Kenneth Collier writes, "I do not know where we go when we die, and I do not know what the soul is, or what death is, or when, or why. What I know is that the song once sung cannot be unsung, and the life once lived cannot be unlived, and the love once loved cannot be unloved."
I'm grateful for the way that Judy made this place a home for me. It was not only through constantly and unfailingly thanking me for anything I did, or reminding me through her humble and constant action that there's stuff that needs doing that nobody else wants to do, but she was always going to do it anyway. But the way she made this place a home for me, this church, is through asking things like, things about my life, remembering explicitly details months later, and bringing them back. And so, for example, hey, how's your little Ben? I have a 3-year-old. How's your Ben doing? And I'd say, oh, he's keeping me up. I'm not sleeping. And then 2 weeks later, is he sleeping any better? And then well, give him a hug from me. And the thing is, she meant it every time she said that. It was just so lovely. This is a reimagining of Mike and the Mechanics in the Living Years, rewritten from Tom Deere, and I'm grateful to be a part of this. So. We were there that morning when our mother passed away. The wind blew through the hallway like one more thing to say. Don't forget to thank them for each and every part. Judy Dare might say this from the bottom of her heart, and we all got to witness in the living years. Say it loud, say it clear. We sing this for those who volunteer. It's not too late to take a part, and Judy Dare will thank you from beyond. So we open up a quarrel between the present and the past. We only sacrifice the future, it's the bitterness that lasts. So don't yield to the fortunes that you sometimes see as fate. May have a new perspective on a different day. And if you don't give up and you don't give in, you may just be okay. Say it loud, say it clear. We sing this for those who volunteer. It's not too late to take a part, and Judy Dare thanks you with all her heart. And Judy Dare thank you from all our hearts.
Big thanks to all our musicians and all our speakers. Again, if your body is able, we would appreciate help transforming this place into a reception area. And if your body is not so able, move to the sides and ask someone to bring a chair for you if you need one. Thank you all.
Thank you.